Hi, and welcome to our show today. We're going to be doing a show called Repair My House. It's not carpentry, though. You're going to find out about how to help yourself with many, many skills. So I'd like to introduce you to our guests today. The first one is Dr. Gerry Hiller. And Dr. Gerry Hiller has been a social worker and he is a psychologist. And he actually co-hosted this show for many years ago before he got too busy to do it. So I want to welcome him back. He's also responsible for me doing the show. Right. Dr.
Hi,
Gerry
Karen.
Hiller, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited about talking about our program.
Good. And Mary Jo Martin, and she's our consumer advocate. And she's going to find out all about this today because she's never heard about it before. She thought we were going to build a house here today. So thank you for joining us, Mary Jo.
My pleasure.
Okay, Dr. Hiller, I know a little bit about your program, but it's a wonderful thing that's gone on for years downtown. So tell us where, when, and what.
Okay, Repair My House, Mind, Body, Soul, Skills for the Journey is a health promotion, illness prevention program. We've been concerned about the wear and tear that people have with all the stress, work, family, friends, intimacy, self-care, spirituality, and purpose. I come from a branch of psychology after Alfred Adler. Alfred Adler was a colleague of Freud and Jung, and he broke up with them to establish his own way of psychology, which focused on helping people to understand themselves and live healthier lives. In 1898, he wrote a paper on the health of people in the tailor professions. He noticed that they were coming in with bronchial problems, lung issues, because of the working conditions. So anyway, he believed in helping physicians and teachers and parents raise responsible and emotionally healthy children and try to help ordinary people deal with their stress. So anyway, we Adlerians have been teaching public education for many years, and one day I'm walking in the Loop and I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if instead of me going to schools and churches and businesses, if they came to me at lunchtime here in the Loop. Well, anyway, a year later, I get invited downtown for a meeting, and I happen to be at St. Peter's, and I realized that they had St. Peter's Franciscan Church at Clark and Madison in the Loop. And I realized that they had a lot of adult education. So I said, well, could I do a couple? And they said, okay. So the other day we had our 909th session. Well, we're in our 28th year.
I was going to say, it's a long time.
We've had over 37,000 people attend the lunchtime programs. They're in the auditorium of St. Peter's, and people can give a $5 donation or whatever they want to the church. And then my wife, Marilyn, Roshan, and I, a psychotherapist, talk as fast as we can for 40 minutes. We've been trying to help people have more of a balanced life. When you have a little bit of balance in your life, you start feeling better about yourself. You feel like you can cope with some things. If you can't cope in one area, you have other things that you can do. So we try to promote balance.
So this is at noon?
12:10 to 12:55. And they're on Mondays. We've averaged about 34 a year. And like I said, people come in their lunchtime. It's psychology at lunch. One of the things that we've talked about a lot is anger, anxiety, depression. And I'd like to mention 3 points to anxiety that we've covered a lot. One is your body gets stirred up, your heart beats faster, and so on. But then you get into a lot of catastrophic thinking about the worst case scenario. And not that it might happen, but it's going to happen. And then people avoid. So if you can calm your body down, and we teach people how to do diaphragmatic breathing and help them challenge their cognitive distortions, their mistaken ways of thinking that make them think of the worst case scenario. You're a problem solver, so when you see a problem, you want to figure out a way around it. Well, folks that have anxiety, the more anxiety you have, the less you want to take action because you're afraid of it.
That's like worry is paying interest on money you never borrowed.
Yeah, some people worry. And by the way, the other thing is exciting is we approach change in several different ways. We use Aristotle's four causes, actually, for ways of changing. One way to change is just take care of your mind, body, and spirit. The second way is you can have habits, good habits, daily habits of when you get up in the morning and your exercise or whatever. And then you also challenge your mistaken ways of or your automatic thoughts. We all have these automatic thoughts, all or nothing thinking, labeling, thinking of the worst case scenario, disregarding the positive, all or nothing thinking, like I said, overgeneralization. And then we work with patterns. When we're little, we start developing a life pattern. And two of the patterns we cover a lot, one is pleasing, and the other one is control. Right, these are the two popular ones. And what we do is we teach people the difference between useful pleasing, because some pleasing is useful, versus useless pleasing. For instance, some people grow up trying to please a parent who can't be pleased. Nothing pleases them. But as kids, we keep trying to get this, what we think is conditional love. The other one, because pleasers fear rejection. Then with control, we try to help them realize useful control. There's certain things we should try to control versus useless control. Okay, so for me to try to control you, I can't do that. That's useless control. And we controllers fear humiliation. We fear being humiliated. So if we make a mistake, if we say the wrong thing, if someone criticizes us, we might feel bad. The advantage of control is some people come from families that are really chaotic, very conflictual. So sometimes one of the kids, or maybe several of them, starts wanting to try to prevent bad things from happening.
Sure.
Okay. Before we talked, before the program, we were talking about different styles in the family. Mm-hmm. There are some families that, well, when someone's angry, they get real quiet. And you were saying in your family that that would not have taken place, right?
No. I'm Italian. We're very loud, and the person who speaks the loudest is heard. The rest are, you're competing for the voice, I guess.
Okay.
to take control of the conversation.
So then your family knew that that's the
that
name
was
of the
our
game.
Our dynamic, sure.
Okay. Now, if I came from a very quiet family, and all of a sudden, like Moonstruck type of thing, so I get there and I'm seeing these people yelling at each other. I'm thinking, oh, that's just terrible. And you all would think, oh, what's the problem? And then what I notice is in some families like this, after they get done arguing, they say what? Let's eat.
Exactly.
And it's as if there's nothing that happened.
Exactly.
So this life pattern. So the one thing then is taking care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. The second, develop habits and ways of thinking. And the other one is to watch your life patterns, and you can adjust. For instance, you can decide who you want to please and how much you want to please them. You don't have to please everybody. Some people think you have to have 100% of the people approving you of 100% of the time. And that's impossible.
It's impossible, I was going to say.
Right?
Yeah.
The other thing is interesting is to understand every family, there are no perfect families. All of us, because we're human beings, have issues.
Sure.
And anybody who says that they don't have issues really has issues, right?
Right, they're in denial.
Right, sure. And the average person can tell when people are, we all have our little quirks, we're a little weird, okay? But then we can recognize when something's like really weird. And so we try to do, in fact, I asked somebody today who comes to our program a lot, what should I tell them about Repair My House? And he says that coming to repair my house helped him shrink the stress of daily hassles.
Okay.
The fourth way that we have bring about change is the spiritual part, purpose and mission. What is your purpose in life? What are you willing to give up everything for and get everything from? And also to try to connect with the sun, the moon, the stars, even walking in nature, walking along a lake, just being quiet can help our health. So we have these programs, and we want to continue to lower the wear and tear. The technical word for that is allostatic load. Allostatic load influences inflammatory diseases. Most diseases are inflammatory diseases, right? Like, what would you mention? What would you tell them?
The autoimmune diseases,
Yeah.
well, even MS, things that eat away at your body.
Yeah. And so we try to lower the allostatic load. Now, the problem is the allostat, in most ways of living, you get yourself cranked up for a stress and then you relax. The problem with a lot of these multiple stressors that occur over and over again is you get yourself cranked up and that becomes the new normal. And the problem is you don't come back down. Now, if you get yourself cranked up in the wrong way, then you're going to keep repeating the same bad habits that are going to really exacerbate stress. The other thing we use is, instead of just lowering that, we want to increase well-being. And we use the Greek word, which is used in research, eudaimonia. Can you say eudaimonia?
Eudaimonia.
Very good, very good. Yeah, eudaimonia is a feeling of well-being. It involves effectiveness and satisfaction. We have to be effective, we want to be effective, and we also want to be satisfied. Now, one of the things I've noticed is the biggest thing that people have said about our programs is they say, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the one that was crazy. Well, we all have these issues. Now, sometimes what we use is we have little songs that we teach people. Like one is, are you stressed out? Are you stressed out? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Anyway, that one. And then there's another one, I can learn to keep my promises all the live long day. Can't you see my feet a-moving, just going all along the way? Anyway, and then we also have sometimes marionettes. The other day we had one, Phil the Philosopher, and he teaches people how to be a little more philosophical about thinking of things, seeing what the purpose and the meaning of some of this is. What do these problems in my life, what are they telling me about life, and what can I do to find my place? And then the other one was Frere Jacques. He is an artist, and he teaches people how to use creativity and imagination. One of the things we teach people is it's not what happens to you.
It's how you react.
Exactly.
We would say what use you make of it. There are many people who have come from very dysfunctional families, but then they learn early on that they don't want to live like that. They want to be something different. They want to not hurt other people, and they become very compassionate. Okay, so it's not what happens to you. By the way, I'm very influenced today by the death of Stephen Hawking.
Oh, yes.
This is a man who had all of these problems. He spent 50 years with ALS. They didn't think he would go that long.
It's very rough.
And yet, he really believed that he can still do things.
And he did.
And he did. And not only did he
right.
do them, but he came up
Starts
with
here.
these incredible scientific theories about the black hole and all this stuff. Plus, people liked him. He was really quite a delightful person. One of the things that I've learned in doing these is my excuses for why I don't get things done no longer work. That's a terrible thing, not to have excuses.
What
They
excuse
don't,
did you have?
well, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. We always worry about not being enough. And we ask, well, how much is enough? And in my work and with people with various disabilities, they have to compensate. They have to figure out ways of using a wheelchair or an artificial arm. But Stephen Hawking's, he showed us how you can, this man in this chair like this, who used somehow, I don't know how he did that, was he able to speak through, and this computer was able to tell people about his theories and so on. So I would just say that if you want to lower your allostatic load, you may want to pace yourself and not race. You may want to think about how many expectations you have and write them down, and then pick out what you have to do.
Instead of trying to do it all at once.
Right.
Like they say, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Instead of being overwhelmed
Yes.
by everything in front of you,
Yes.
just take one tiny step and you accomplish your goal if you're persistent.
Well, that's right. Chip away.
Chip away.
Yes, that's very good. And also, I noticed that a lot of us are asked or we want to do things that we're not good at. But if you want to help, in fact, we use this word, the Adlerian word for mental health is Gemeinschaftsgefühl. It's a German word that means belonging. A feeling of being at home on the crust of the earth, a feeling of using common sense instead of private logic to try to make your own contribution and work with your limitations. The more that we work with our limitations, the more we can understand and accept other people's.
Exactly, yeah.
Another thing that we teach people is we very often determine how we feel by how we explain the behavior of others. Okay, so if I was late coming here today, but you explained it because, and I told you I was the traffic, okay? But if you explained it as you're disrespecting me, coming late, how dare you? Well, then that you would be angry and miserable. Well, okay, so by checking things out, okay, so when the man cuts me off in front of me, all I need to know is I don't want to spend thousands of dollars with my car in the garage. I don't have to know why he did that, except whatever it is, I need to be watchful so that I don't accept negative invitations to lose it. Okay?
Okay.
Some people want to start stuff with us. They want to show us that they're the boss. And we can decide if we want to accept that invitation or not. Sort of like reminds me of a mother or father telling the little one, you need to go up to your room. And the little one says, no. So the father and mother, instead of yelling or hitting the child, they say, I'll give you a choice. Do you want to go up to your room by yourself, or should I carry you? So that the child learns to be able to do what life requires. I would recommend, by the way, to the audience, if we have any time, that do the morning breathing where you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth for 10 minutes. The other thing I would recommend is the morning pages. You get up and you write as fast as you can all of your feelings. And you're not going to keep it. You can shred it later. No one's going to read it. And you write down whatever you want to write down. Oh, what am I going to wear today? What's clean? What's for supper? Oh, I got to talk to that person at work, or I feel angry that my friend didn't call me. Just keep writing, keep writing. It's called the morning dump. You dump all of these fears and emotions out of your head, and you put them on paper, and you have some control over them.
Can you do it at night instead?
You can do it at night instead. For you, that's
Then
what
you
I
go right to
recommend.
sleep. Yeah.
I'm doing all the talking here. Do you have any questions about this?
No, I just wondered if it was just as effective if you did it at night, because to me, when I have to, especially when I have to do things, if I write them in a list so I won't forget them, I don't have to keep thinking them over in my mind and
Exactly.
can't go to sleep because I have to
Yes.
remember. It's like
It's complete.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you just go over your list.
Yes, in fact, I tell people if they can't sleep, they should have a pad by the bed to write things down.
Or a recorder.
Or a recorder, yeah. What they find in the writing is that the brain has a way of processing. Okay, for instance, when you want to move, let's say you put your pots and pans in a box and put down pots and pans, kitchen. Okay, so then the movers put that in the kitchen and the other rooms. And then when the movers go and you want to eat, you say, okay, I need a pot and a pan. Okay, so where would that be? That would be the kitchen, and you look at the box for the pots and pans. Well, when you do this writing, what happens is it's a way of kind of organizing this a little bit. You kind of decide, what's going on, and maybe what kind of plan you can use to deal with this stress. Because we have the outer stress, and then we have our inner stress. The other thing I would recommend, by the way, is ask yourself, when things are going pretty well in my life, what am I doing? When I can handle that boss screaming at me, and I take it in stride, think, oh, he must be having a bad day. He gets crabby at this time of the day. And to figure out what you do well and what you want to keep on doing. So I ask married couples, what's different about the times when you have really good arguments? That, at the end of the argument, you say, hey, we solved this. And then you actually feel closer. Or let's just say, at the end of the day when you say, today was really rough. I didn't know what I was doing. The traffic was bad. The car wouldn't start. But look what I did. I just kept my mind peaceful, just did what I had to do, make calls and tell Karen I'm going to be late, okay? And so that people know what's going on.
Well, I learned my lesson once when I was trying to get somewhere and I had terrible traffic, and then they diverted me and I missed an exit, and I had on one of those things, I forget what you call it, that's supposed to absorb nerve-wracking things in your body. And it was working because normally I would have been frantic. But I called this friend of mine, and she was at the restaurant already, and she said, you got to get here right away, you got to do this. I said, don't you think that's what I'd rather be than on this expressway being diverted? But I said, it's not bothering me because I'm wearing this thing. And she was all upset, but I didn't get upset that time. Normally I would have been very upset.
You bring, go ahead, you're going to say something.
No, go ahead. No, finish that thought because I have something that
Go
I
ahead.
use.
Go ahead.
For me, my faith, the spiritual, has changed my behavior. And because I believe in the Lord, He's in control.
Okay.
So that takes that right off the table.
He runs the show.
The only thing I'm in control of is my behavior.
Okay.
Okay? And so there are no control issues. And the other thing I try to practice is to stay calm in any situation. And the breathing helps.
Does it?
And as far as feeling inferior, I always had an inferiority complex.
By the way, everybody does.
Okay.
Well, inferiority feelings.
From time to time or whatever.
Yes, yes.
But I know that I'm a child of God, and He doesn't create junk. We all have a purpose, and we're all here for a reason. I firmly believe that. This is what gets me through, and I don't have the issues that I used to have because I'm at peace with that. And I do spend time in nature and appreciate and try to connect, and I think that centers me and keeps me in a good place.
You said centers, that's another good
Yeah.
word, and also calm. By the way, one of the reasons we call our program Repair My House is because one of my heroes is Francis of Assisi, and in the year 1205, he didn't know what he wanted to do in his life. Things weren't working out. He was depressed and lost. His father wanted him to go in the business, and Francis didn't want to go in the father's business. So he's in a broken down church, and he's asking his Creator for help. And from the Creator, he hears the words, Francis, go and repair my house, for as you can see, it is in ruins. And Francis is thinking, here I am with my problems, and I'm asking God for help, and he's asking me to help him repair the dreams that he has for humanity. So what he did is he introduced a way of living where people were valued, where people were worthwhile just because they were human beings. Mm-hmm. It didn't depend on rank and money. And it didn't depend on how much stuff they had. So the early Franciscans had a sense of joy. They didn't have anything, but in fact they had less than the poorest people had, but they had joy. And joy is a mark of what I would call holiness with a W. To be a whole person, to have a sense of joy. And you know, in working with patients in hospitals in their home, that this sense of joy, being able to just be alive and somehow take the good and the bad, and to be able to maybe help somebody along the way.
That's the key for me.
Well, that is.
It makes you feel good, right?
Take
well,
me
to
out
be
of
of
the
service,
equation.
Yes, to be able to contribute, to be useful.
And to be grateful for everything.
Yes.
We need to have you talk about your website because we have 3 minutes. So I'm going to give you the floor about your website and whatever else you'd like people to know.
Well, we don't exactly have a website, but we have a 3-minute
Video?
YouTube.
Oh.
If you Google Hiller Ann Rochon, R-O-C-H-O-N.
Okay, Hiller is H-I-L-L-E-R.
Right, Ann Rochon. And if you Google that, you'll see our 3-minute video that was on Channel 11 twice or 3 times. And you can also Google Holiness with a W in America Magazine, and they wrote an article about our program. As far as tips, I would just say is you have an influence on people for better or for worse. It's up to you to decide what you want to use it to offer something for the better or to make things worse. And that by having the courage to be imperfect, you can make the world a little better place.
So anybody can attend. It's
Yes.
on Mondays throughout the whole year? Or
Off and
certain
on,
months?
yeah,
Oh.
right,
So what's the best thing to do? Call the church?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, St. Peter's in the Loop,
St. Peter's in
And
Chicago,
call,
downtown, on what streets?
Clark and Madison.
Clark and Madison.
Uh,
Be
okay.
there at noon on
Right.
Monday. But check first to make sure it's the correct Monday.
Yes.
Okay, I want to thank Dr. Gerry Hiller. He is a psychologist. He is formerly a social worker, and he was one of the inventors of this original program. He forced me to start doing a program like this and co-hosted it for many years. Dr. Gerald Hiller. And Mary Jo Martin, who also hosts the program in Carillon about what's happening at Carillon. So thank you both for joining me. And
Thanks,
thank
Karen.
you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.